Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC 271, Adesanya versus Whittaker 2. I'm Paul Shaughnessy, joined on the line by Cody Saftic, as always. 15 fights this week, bud. So we're gonna be speed racing through these. Not too much, but I mean, I don't think we have to get like too in depth with certain matchups here.
No. First profitable UFC card for us of the year last week, so hopefully we can just roll off of that. But 15 fights, let's be real. By the time the fights actually take place, it might be closer to 13. So we'll do our best not to waste too much time in case something falls off. But yeah, you can mix and match. You can pick and choose what you actually like on this card. You don't have to force anything. So there's a couple spots that I really do like. There's a couple spots I think a sneaky underdog could come through. Let's focus on the ones that we do like.
100%. Before we get into the action, just want to remind everyone, sub to Mayo Media Network. That's the network that you're on right now. Subscribe if you found us. This is the first time that you've ever seen us before. Obviously, more subscribers. We bring this to you guys for free every single week. We don't ask for much. Sub to Mayo Media Network and maybe tell a friend. Tell a friend if you're like, hey, I like these guys. These guys aren't complete goobers. Good times. And 5-star reviews on Apple. That's what... The boss man always asks me to take care of all this stuff. All right, we got a rematch in the main event. We got Israel Adesanya taking on Robert Whittaker, second time around between the two of these guys. Minus 280 at DraftKings Sportsbook. All lines are brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook for this episode and all episodes of the Dogger Pass podcast. Plus 225 on Whittaker. I mean, we saw this fight the first time around. Can Whittaker change some of the style, some of his strategy taking on Adesanya? Hopefully, because standing there at range and trying to exchange punches, trying to knock out Adesanya did not work out. Probably won't work out this time. I guess last time out for Whittaker taking on Kelvin Gastelum, he did land 4 takedowns. I went back, watched that fight. And like the first 2 takedowns were a bit... I just don't see them really working against Adesanya. It's like he waited for Kelvin Gastelum to overextend, entering the pocket, and was able to body lock him and then trip takedown. The last one in like round 5 that he landed was a standard single leg. So obviously Whittaker has been working on his wrestling. He's going to have to change it up because... the strategy of I'm going to try to land my best punches. He landed some good strikes in their first fight, but they didn't really phase Izzy whatsoever. And eventually, if you stand in the pocket with a experienced kickboxer of this quality, you're going to get knocked out. The over-under is at 4.5 rounds. I think the under at plus 105 is probably... I could see it playing out pretty similarly again. I'm sure Whittaker has a new game plan coming into this, but I think it's going to be the same old thing. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I just don't think I've seen enough from Robert Whittaker since the first meeting to really lean in his favor and say that anything's more or less changed. See, the interesting thing going into that fight is that Robert Whittaker almost seemed shop-worn, right? The 2 Yoel Romero fights, my God. 10 rounds in there with Yoel Romero would probably take it out of anybody, but especially that second fight, he got dropped twice. You know, it's one of those fights that's hard to rebound from. And then right after that fight, he gets dropped twice, knocked out by Israel Adesanya. The fight with Darren Till right after that, I thought he got hurt in that spot as well. Rallies to win over Darren Till, but not a great win. The Cannonier fight, he looks more himself. The Kelvin Gastelum fight, he looks more himself. But one has to wonder if somebody doesn't clip this guy, he's just going to go back into his old habits, which is go on skates. And I think Israel Adesanya is that guy. As far as takedown defense, yeah, that's probably going to be key because when you're fighting Israel Adesanya, nobody's had any success standing with this guy. And we've seen a ton of different approaches. We've seen Yoel Romero quite literally stand back and do nothing. We've seen Marvin Vettori charge forward and be ultra aggressive. We've seen people try to lay back, Paulo Costa, pick his spots. None of it has seemingly worked. So if Robert Whittaker's game plan is stand with Israel Adesanya, yeah, that's our pick, baby. We're taking Izzy. The game plan's got to involve mixing in some takedowns. With Jan Blachowicz, when he gets the takedowns, BJJ black belt, big, thick, heavy Polish guy, he's able to ground him. When Vettori got the takedowns, man, Izzy's ground game's vastly improved. His takedown defense is better, but you can still take him down. But his get-up game is vastly improved, and that would be key here against Robert Whittaker, a former welterweight. If he does take you down, scramble, get back up. In the 4 takedowns that he had versus Kelvin Gastelum, he only held 4 minutes of top control in the fight. And it's a 25-minute fight. So he can get the takedown, but it's not like Robert Whittaker is known for some A-class grappling game, and he's going to be able to easily submit him and neutralize him and do this and that. Like, he could take him down. That looks good to the judges. He can hold him down. That does, at least we don't have to strike for this period of time that I can hold you down. Score again. This is all good. But once the fight gets back standing, it should be Izzy's. And last but not least, I mean, he hurt him so bad in that second round, knocks him out. He's got 5 rounds to work with. Like, at any point, he could tilt it in his favor. So you've seen the results one time around. It's about 2 years ago. I don't think all that much has changed. I think Israel Adesanya is at the top of his game. I think Robert Whittaker is still only 31. Is not quite at the top of his game. He's good. He's still great, but he's not quite, Bobby the Reaper from old. So I got to go with Izzy. Is the line wide? Yes, but that's because we've seen it and we're expecting it to kind of go down the same way. So I'm going to have to agree with the price tag here as well.
Yeah. Well said. Moving on, we've got Derrick Lewis taking on Tai Tuivasa, a fight that has everyone really, really excited. Even Mayo was he's like, oh my God, they have Derrick Lewis taking on that Tuivasa guy? And I was like, oh yeah. Hopefully these guys have a gentleman's agreement of just like, it's on. We're just throwing haymakers until someone dies. Because that's what the fans are here for. And that's what the under 1.5 rounds minus 175 is indicating is about to happen. Derrick Lewis in Houston, his hometown. Crowd's going to be on his side. But everybody loves both of these guys. Probably 2 of the most entertaining, fun, and interesting characters in the heavyweight division. Minus 180, Derrick Lewis. Plus 155, Tai Tuivasa. I mean, I just expect chaos here. This is not a fight that is going to be getting really any of my money, unless I get off to a hot start and I start degenerating into things.
Yeah, of course.
Pat did bring up a pretty good point when we were discussing it just before we started recording here. That like Lewis is like a heavyweight. There is you'd have to cut off multiple limbs for this guy to make the 205-pound weight class. Like Tai Tuivasa with a very, very strict diet. Like he's got wide shoulders, but there's a massive size disparity here. Both guys have crazy, crazy power. I'm going to have to lean towards Derrick Lewis here. Maybe Tai can mix in some wrestling, which would not really be exciting for anybody. Both of these guys are entertainers. I'm expecting absolute fireworks, but we thought there was going to be absolute fireworks when Francis Ngannou took on Derrick Lewis, and there was 20 strikes thrown over the course of 15 minutes. So crazy things happen in MMA, but I think Derrick Lewis gets back on track in his hometown after a bit of a letdown against Cyril Gane. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. We're on the same page. This is a great fight. This is an awesome co-main event. The people get fired up. When you look at a pay-per-view and you're like, I got to pay money for this card. What's worth paying money for it? Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker. Seen it. And he's a 3-1 favorite. Let's be real. So it's not like it really gets your juices flowing. This co-main event. Yeah, this is why we watch the sport, baby. This is that bloodlust. And you would assume somebody's getting knocked out. Flip a coin, right? But Tai Tuivasa is still a little bit green, I think. Like, yeah, he has the entertaining appeal and he does the shoey and he hops on the cage. And, obviously, clearly, we're big fans of his work. But when you look at his resume, a win over Stefan Struve doesn't really mean all that much, right? The win over Harry Hunsucker means very little. The win over Greg Hardy, and you'll remember this, he's inches away from he himself getting knocked out. Yep. All in the span of 1 minute and 7 seconds, he goes from being wobbly on skates to just catching Hardy coming in. So in a different world, that's a real bad performance from him. And for a cast iron Samoan chin, you can rock this guy. Junior Dos Santos, same thing. You hit him clean, he will go down. And then a win over Augusto Sakai, which on paper is not too bad, but especially when you watch the fight, Augusto Sakai just sits there and doesn't do anything. He just allows the pace to get completely dictated by Tai Tuivasa, who eventually knocks him out. Derrick Lewis will oftentimes sit there and do nothing until you start to put some heat on him, then he swings back. And when he swings back, I think it's going to be a problem. So again, when you compare the level of opponent, Derrick Lewis shows wins over some of the best guys in the sport. Chris Daukaus was a very hot rising prospect. Curtis Blades, a very hot rising prospect, still in the top 5. He obviously shows wins over Alexander Volkov, Francis Ngannou, Marcin Tybura. The guy's been there, done that. He's proven himself. His power, it can translate to the first round right through to third round. He's always in it. He's fought the best guys in the sport. And you make a good point with Tai Tuivasa in the takedown, because it's like, why not? You're fighting Derrick Lewis. Why would you want to stand in front of him? But I think he's going to let the crowd get to him, and I think he'll probably stand in front of him. So my guess is that Tai Tuivasa is going to get the adrenaline going. He's going to bum rush Derrick Lewis. They're going to exchange bombs. He might even clip Lewis a few times, but in the end, Lewis is going to catch him with the more meaningful shot, put him down. And I'm thinking first round, but yeah, Lewis likes to bide his time. It all depends how Tai Tuivasa approaches it.
Yeah, it really does.
Could make it to the second, but really don't think this thing's going to the third or the distance.
No. All right, we got Jared Cannonier taking on Derrick Brunson. Jared Cannonier is a -165 favorite. Brunson can be had for +145. Brunson actually this week has announced that, I don't know if this is a very good negotiation tactic whatsoever, but he said like he's got 2 fights left, regardless of whether he wins. Even if he wins this, gets a title shot, he says that he would retire with the belt, which seems kind of silly. That just kind of, I'm sure Sean Strickland loves to hear that right now. It's that, he's definitely cheering for Brunson, because they're not going to give Brunson a title shot if he's planning to dip. That's just not good for business altogether. I think this is when Derrick Brunson's bad chin shows back up again. What about you? I think he's going to get knocked out. Yeah. I think Cannonier absolutely rocks him. Brunson's had a nice little run, but it's like the guys that he's going up against, like, they're pretty, like, we were both on him against Darren Till. Why? Because Darren Till can't wrestle. And that was pretty clear. Kevin Holland, another guy who really struggles to wrestle, has decent grappling when he gets down there, but he got taken down 6 times there. Edmund Shabazian, incredibly green, young kid, taken down 4 times. Cannonier will, unless he knocks him out like on the first exchange, but like he could get taken down, but he's so strong. I just struggled to see Brunson absolutely, completely controlling him in this matchup, and I think eventually Cannonier is going to lay the wood on him, knock him out. So I actually think -165. I haven't bet it yet, but I've had this fight circled for a long time. I think this is more of like a Jared Cannonier, like -250-ish kind of range. I think we're getting value on Jared Cannonier. What about you?
Yeah, so there's a time that it would have been that, but then Brunson goes on this hot little run and dyes his hair platinum blonde, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, Cisco's back, and Brunson goes on a little bit of a hype train. So now he's talking he wants a title fight, and he's talking he wants this, and he's talking he wants that. Realistically, for my money's worth, the best guys in the division are Kelvin Gastelum, Marvin Vettori, Jack Hermanson, Sean Strickland, Jared Cannonier, Robert Whittaker, of course, Israel Adesanya. To which he's not doesn't have wins over the good guys of the division. He's got wins over a couple of green prospects and Darren Till, a man who notoriously cannot wrestle. So it looks good. The perception is good. 3-fight winning streak, beating guys with a bit of a name, but it was just the right style clashes. Against Jared Cannonier, he's going to be way harder pressed. You mentioned the fact that Jared Cannonier tough to take down. I completely agree. So Cannonier fights Robert Whittaker, and Whittaker was a guy that one time qualified for the Australian Commonwealth Wrestling team. He's a guy that, has used his wrestling very effectively. And in fact, we just broke down the main event, and Whittaker could potentially use his wrestling there. We've talked about how he's used it in prior fights. It's there in his back pocket. 0 for 2 in takedowns against Cannonier. He stuffs out both of them. Kelvin Gastelum wrestled collegiately, actually had a lot of success collegiately. And most of his wins in the UFC is when he kind of gets a bit of his wrestling game going. Yeah, 0 for 8 taking down Jared Cannonier. He is a thick piece of man, ripped up muscle, and taking him down is a problem. The other problem with taking him down is you're going to have to get close to him, and he's going to unleash some bombs on you. And I just don't think Brunson's been looking good, but this will be the return of Bumson. And I think he gets clipped at some point with his chin up in the air, coming down, rushing a desperate takedown. If he does manage to take him down, he's going to exert a lot of energy, because listen, it's going to require a lot of force and a lot of strength to just drag this man to the ground and hold him down. The longer the fight goes, Brunson's his cardio's always been suspect. Like, he will be there to get knocked out. And in fact, even in these wins, Paul, he takes you down, and then when it's standing, he's done, and he forces another takedown. In those fights, he was able to get them. In this Cannonier fight, the longer it goes, the more tired he gets, the more desperate he gets, he's not going to get them. And Cannonier, for a guy that's that ripped up, carries cardio quite well. Like, guy's dangerous throughout. So, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer Cannonier pick as well. I'm on the same page as you.
All right, we got Kyler Phillips taking on Marcelo Rojo. Minus 410 Phillips, plus 310 Royo. I mean, Phillips, let's just get this out of the way. Phillips should have been coming off of a draw, but there is a repeatable pattern here for him, is that with all those spinning, flashing techniques, he seems to be a bit of a, I mean, against his last time out, he was like a 1-round fighter. Maybe he's like a 2-round fighter. He definitely seems to struggle with the cardio. Royo, on the other hand, was up at 145 pounds, taking on Jourdain. My God, was that a violent fight? That guy took an absolute beating in that scrap. Phillips at minus 410, like, you gotta be 100% sure that, I think he's gonna have to come into this with a little bit more of a strategic approach. Like, I think he's got him outgunned everywhere in this fight. Maybe not durability, maybe not cardio, but slow down the pace a little bit, hold the flashy techniques, don't overextend trying to find a finish, because if Royo showed us anything, it's like he can take an absolute beating. He's had a bunch of time off since that absolute beatdown against Charles Jourdain. I like Phillips to win, but minus 410 I think is getting a little bit too expensive. And plus, also, make sure you check out the weigh-ins on this, because Royo is 33-year-old bantamweight. He hasn't fought at bantamweight in almost 3 full years now. So that'll be interesting. He had a catch weight on the regional scene, and then he fought at 145 ever since then. So going back down to 135 could be dicey on the scales. I like Phillips to win, but I don't think he should be the biggest favorite on the card. I think even like Royo, if he looks good on the scales, he gets through round 1, it could get a little bit dicey. Maybe you could get some absurd value on the underdog here. But it's a fight I'm going to probably stay away from, just because Phillips has showed us that he's not really trustworthy for a full 15 minutes of action.
Yeah, well, he's super talented. He does everything right, but cardio probably, a bit of a letdown. I completely hear you there, 100%. But I honestly do really like this kid. What I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt is he's 26 years old, so you're going to continue to see good improvements out of him. Once upon a time, he's on the Ultimate Fighter, right? They're supposed to win the season, right? He's 22. He's young, and they picked him as the favorite to win the Ultimate Fighter. He loses in the first round to Brad Katona, who ends up winning the Ultimate Fighter. See, the difference there is Brad Katona, veteran, right? Brad Katona had some pro boxing, a lot of jiu-jitsu. He's a little bit older. He was ready for that spot. Kyler Phillips goes to the regional scene. He shows a split decision loss to Victor Henry. Well, as we all know now, Victor Henry cuts it up pretty good in the UFC. Solid prospect, split decision loss. Not too bad. Since he's reemerged in the UFC, the guys look pretty good, man. And the fight with Song Yadong, I mean, how good Song Yadong? He's in top 15 in the division. Very solid prospect. Kyler Phillips striking on par. His explosiveness, his speed, his agility, good footwork, good decent head movement. He's like a more refined version of Luke Sanders, but similar to Luke Sanders.
Round 3, he slows down though too in that fight against Yadong.
Right, exactly. Similar to Luke Sanders, he has all this good skill set, but the longer these fights go, he starts to definitely fatigue. So he fatigues against Song Yadong, but again, this is a world-class fight, and it was a high pace. I give him the benefit of the doubt. Now he's supposed to fight Rafael Assunção. This is a high-profile fight for him. Assunção pulls out, Rolian Paiva pulls in. It's a short notice replacement. It's not the guy you trained for. In the first round, Phillips dominates. That's why it should have been a 10-8. He's this close to knocking him out. In fact, Mark Smith is refereeing that fight. He does stop it. It is a first-round knockout. And then you'd look at this price tag and you'd be like, oh my God, Kyler Phillips, the Kyler Phillips, on a great stretch, wins over Song Yadong in a first-round knockout win over Rolian Paiva. It'd be very justified. But the ref doesn't stop it. He completely blows his load. In the second round, he's a dead man walking, and I'll give him this. In the third round, he fought his heart out. He lands more significant strikes in the third than he did in the second. And in fact, he outlands Paiva in the third round. The judges just didn't care, and he ends up losing the fight. Fair enough. But for a 26-year-old fighter to get valuable round time, a very valuable lesson to be learned out of this, that's so good for him, man. He'll be able to go back to the drawing board and take a lot of positives. Rojo, meanwhile, is a banger. That's his style. He's 33. He's not going to change that. It is who he is. And he's had some bad luck here, right? Because the Charles Jourdain fight, it's like fight of the night. Great fight. He actually, I had him up 2 rounds. The second round, the momentum was swinging. But because similar to Phillips, he doesn't got a great gas tank. He exerts himself just being aggressive and throwing haymakers, and he doesn't have a great gas tank. By the third round, he's cooked. He's done. He gets finished. But then he has a fight with Kevin Kroom. Kroom pulls out. So they rebook him a month later against Jonathan Martinez. Martinez botches the weight cut and pulls out. So they rebook him against Daniel Santos. And Santos pulls out. And now quietly he's been sitting on the sidelines for a year. So he hasn't been getting that ring experience. He hasn't been getting that time in there that would lead me to believe that he's improved his cardio. At 33, I don't know that he's improved it enough just in the gym. And if he's going to go out with the game plan of just swing on Kyler Phillips and knock him out, good luck. Well, because Kyler Phillips has never been knocked out. He's never been finished. He's gassed out and lost some decisions, but if he corrects that part of his game, dangerous. The only one thing that does worry me is Kyler Phillips' wrestling is going to be way above Rojo's, and he should just be able to take him down with ease. But Rojo coming down to 35, it might be hard to hold him down, and he might overexert a little bit of gas trying to peel the bigger man down. So as you mentioned, watching the weigh-ins would be key to see if Rojo even makes it, but I'm not fully disagreeing with the price tag. I think Phillips had a slip up in his last fight, and if he was to correct that, he looks to have the goods.
And even at the end of the day, that should have been a draw by any stretch of the like, worst case scenario. 100%. It's a draw because and that's the problem with the 10-point must system is like, how do you score rounds 2 and 3 of that fight the same as you do round 1? Like it's insanity. They should go to pride scoring, really. And like, who would win that fight in pride scoring?
At the end of it,
it would be Phillips, because who was almost finished. Pava landed some good strikes in round 2. He did have him a little bit wobbled, but yeah, I think pretty clearly round 1 is like so close to being finished. If there's another 10 seconds, he probably does get the job done. It is what it is. That's the fight game. All right, we got Bobby Green taking on Nasrat Haqparast, minus 140 Green, plus 120 Haqparast. People are betting Haqparast. I don't understand. I'll let you break this one down first, though. I have some takes.
Okay, good. So through 4 fights, we got Izzy, the favorite, repeat, big favorite. I got Derrick Lewis, although if you were going to take an underdog like plus money and Tai Tuivasa in a sloppy heavyweight fight, like you could do worse. We both really like Jerry Cannonier. Personally, I agree with the price on Kyler Phillips. This is a fight that's likely going to 15 minutes. It's likely going to decision. I know Bobby Green just knocked out Ala Quinta, but that's so uncharacteristic for Bobby to knock somebody out. I think that's more telling that Ray Janelle's done. You know, been on the sidelines for a year, mid-30s now, real estate agent, haha, like all the jokes are there. Bobby's the decision guy. So this is going to be a decision fight, and it's likely going to be a somewhat competitive decision fight. And I guess I could see Nasrat edging it out. The reason why I am going to still pick Bobby Green here is Nasrat's a lost man, dude. You just don't know what version of the guy's going to show up. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but lately bad. Mm-hmm. The Drew Dober fight, okay, he got caught by Drew Dober, got knocked out, didn't look good there, but let's give him a pass because Dober's an elite level talent. The Alex Munoz fight, it's a walk in the park, low level competitor. I didn't think he looked overly great, but he needed to get his confidence back and get the win. That Rafa Garcia fight, dude, he does not look good. He wins the fight. He goes through the motions, but just not great. And then at that point, I flip sides. I'm like, you know what? I'm off the Nasrat train. I'm just going to go on Dan Hooker. But when we broke down the Dan Hooker fight, the one question I had is Hooker's a volume fighter, and Nasrat has also proven to be at his best a volume fighter as well. And he just sat there gun shy and stared at him. Not a good performance. Bad performance. And I got a gut feeling that against Bobby Green, he's going to play into the antics of Bobby shuffling and shaking his head, and the crowd's going to go wild, and Bobby's going to land some decent counter punches, and the dude's just going to freeze up like a deer in the headlights and stare. But even if he does that, it's still going 15. It's still going to decision. If you're betting Bobby Green, improve your price tag by going Bobby Green by decision. But to be honest, I think this is going to be a competitive fight. Nasrat, of course, if he shows up with his confidence in check and in good shape, could make it happen. Judges hate Bobby Green. They love scoring it against him. So you need to beware when you have Bobby, because and Bobby, Pat, man, you going to write this one down? Bobby loves to fuck around. Bobby loves to do that, right? The Thiago Moises fight, like, so whenever you want to bet Bobby, you always need to take that grain of salt. And I'm going to take Bobby here, but he's going to be lower down my priority list because I'm taking that grain of salt.
I mean, in an alternate universe, this guy's on a 9-fight winning streak.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Like, even the Fiziev fight, he out-volumed him. Fiziev did land the more, the more damaging shots. And whenever Bobby gets hit, he shakes his head. He's like, no, that was just shoulder. It's just like, man, you don't need to do any of that. But that's Bobby Green at this point. We've gotten used to it. I mean, I went back and watched the Thiago Moises fight because I got burned on that one. And it's like, Bobby won that fight. It was pretty clear, like in all aspects of the game, he won it. And yeah, watching Nasrat versus Hooker back is like, one, Hooker got 3 takedowns, showed a new wrinkle in his game, but that was pretty telling, I think. And when he is outgunned on the feet, his volume just isn't quite there. In that fight, in fairness, Hooker was definitely using his length. He had like a 4-inch reach advantage in that scrap. So that, these guys are a little bit more of the same size this time around. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to be killing myself when somehow he gets robbed again because the judges, as you said earlier, just absolutely hate Bobby Green. But I think volume-wise, he probably wins this fight. He's clean, like he's pretty much better in every single aspect of the game. I'll have money on Bobby Green, and I like that it's actually like a playable line. I think this should be more minus 200, to be perfectly honest. So I think the only reason why it's not is because people see Bobby Green, they go, he's always in close, like split decisions, close fights, and people are just taking shots on the underdog. But yeah, I'm off the Haqparast train as well. Bobby Green will be making the card for me. We got Andrei Arlovski taking on Jared Vanderaa, minus 145. Andrei Pitbull Arlovski. Vanderaa can be had for plus 125. I mean, it's a pretty good matchup for Andrei Arlovski again, I think. Vanderaa, not exactly a severe power puncher by any stretch of the imagination. His volume is pretty high in some of his better performances, so we can give him that. I think Andrei, in theory, could go to the wrestling, but he hasn't done that in years, so it's really, really tough to trust in that, because Vanderaa seems, at least against, Romanov, against Spivak, guys who are, that is their game plan. Like, he looked like a bit of a fish out of the water when his opponent went for the takedown. But yeah, Andrei hasn't landed an official takedown in the UFC since Shamil Abdurakhimov, September 2018. So it is what it is. Andrei has low volume, stand-up heavyweight fights where he just edges these guys out. I could see it playing out very, very closely like that, I suppose. But I think Andrei is the more technical fighter all the way around. And the big thing for fading Arlovski for me always is, does this guy have like game-breaking power in his hands? And I don't think Vandera's that guy. So I think Andrei gets another dub. What about you?
I'm going to lean the other way. I think I'll make this my first underdog selection, as I'll go Vanderaa. And I know it's definitely not a sexy pick. But again, you and I have always discussed middling heavyweights, not to call them low-level guys, but 43-year-old Andrei Arlovski, he's not what he used to be. And Jared Vanderaa is just not all that good to begin with. So it is middling heavyweight action. You can get plus money on one guy. It's not the worst thing going. Andrei Arlovski, again, he's another one of these guys that's falling into a decision category. He needs to take you the length of the 15 minutes to decision you. His chin, better than it used to be. You could shut the lights off, but the volume's going to be key here. And I think Vanderaa should be able to give a decent account of himself. When you look at Andrei Arlovski, this little streak he's got going here, the Felipe Lins fight, it's super low volume. He strikes him 50-41. Just a low volume affair, a stinker, not a good fight. They award it for Andrei Arlovski. The Tanner Boser fight, and I actually disagree with his decision, but he gets outstruck 68-34.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's very low volume. It's a low volume fight. He doesn't do anything, and I thought he lost that fight, to be perfectly honest with you. The Aspinall fight, I didn't think he looked all that bad, truth be told, but he loses to Aspinall, who's an elite level guy. The Chase Sherman fight's interesting because the first round, he gets rocked. He's on skates. He's hurt. It's definitely a Chase Sherman first round, but the second and the third round, classic Chase Sherman, he just completely gasses out. So then Arlovski takes over and does put up good volume in that fight, but that's kind of unusual for him. It was more so Chase Sherman was just completely gassed and Arlovski turned the guns on. And then the Carlos Felipe fight is kind of more of the same. See, Carlos Felipe just doesn't got great cardio. So he's usually more of a low output guy. And when I think about Jared Vanderaa, he's been dealt a bum hand. Like his fights are Sergey Spivak, who is going to look to take you down, is likely a top 10 guy at this point in the division and is not an easy out. And Alexander Romanov, who's one of the hottest prospects in the division right now, and is going to take you down. So he's been able to showcase nothing in those fights. He gets taken down and he gets owned. The Justin Taffa fight, the Harry Hunsucker fight, well, the Hunsucker fight, he got rocked early, but he showed off a good chin. He took the shot and then just kept coming. Broke Hunsucker down, knocked him out. Good thing, because the loss to Harry Hunsucker, career ender. And then the Taffa fight, 121 significant strikes landed. Took all of Taffa's best shots, walked him down, landed those strikes. This fight, again, even if Andrei Arlovski wins, it'll be a decision because he's a decision guy. So he's going to have all the opportunities in the world to back him up, let his hands go, throw the volume, hopefully catch him. But even if you don't, walk him down and just outpoint this guy. You make the point of the takedown, and I considered that as well, because why wouldn't you want to take down Jared Vanderaa? Let's be real. But yeah, one takedown since 2018 just wasn't enough, right? Well, 2 takedowns. He took down Arakimov twice, but just not enough for me. He's 43 years old at this point. Did I mention that? You can get away with that at heavyweight, which he has been, but it's going to catch up to him eventually. So live underdog spot, I'll take it. I'll take Jared Vanderaa. Yeah. Greasy, but yeah.
Probably a fight I just stay away from, to be perfectly honest, but we move on. We've got Casey O'Neill taking on Roxanne Modafferi. Minus 380, Casey, the real King Casey O'Neill. Yeah. Roxanne Modafferi can be had for plus 290. O'Neill, 3 finishes. He's 24 years old. I mean, there were some dicey spots against Antonina Shevchenko. They had done some preparation for her, but the girl's pressure, she's relentless. And if she gets into mount, she absolutely tooled Shevchenko's face at the end of that fight. Like, there was bruises everywhere. Like, she's looking like a goonie by the end of that fight, man. I think she's still very, very green, but like a lot of the problems, like the things with this matchup is like Casey O'Neill's stand-up isn't great, but Roxanne's not exactly a massive threat by any stretch of the imagination on the feet, so that's a pretty good matchup for her. Roxy's retiring after this fight, like it's already been announced. She got married and just wants to live a normal life, so props to her. She is a absolute legend in the game. She's been in this game for so long, and she's really made some serious improvements. But I think this is the young taking out the old. I mean, Roxy basically never gets finished. She's so tough. Probably Casey O'Neill by decision. Don't forget, Roxy has been taken down 9 times in her last 2 fights. Like, the takedown should be able to get there. While they're down there, as long as you're down there, Casey O'Neill seems incredibly strong. And yeah, if she gets into mount, like, it could be curtains. I wouldn't be shocked by a Casey O'Neill finish. So I think she's a rightful favorite here. What about you?
Yeah, again, I completely agree. The UFC has a tendency to do this with a lot of people, where you announce your retirement and you're that big name fighter. And in Roxanne's case, she's a big name. She's a women's fighting pioneer. Like, this girl's legend in the world of women's mixed martial arts. She's been there, done that. She's got some of the most fights on the roster. I think it's like Alexei Olenek and then her. She's fought right around the globe. Like, yeah, she's done it all. So she has a name. And we can't allow you to just retire happy, because they never allow them to just retire happy on an easy win and then go off into the limelight. It's always like, well, if this is the last time we're able to utilize you, we're going to utilize you in the best way possible, which is give that shine to somebody else. Now, there's a lot of other fights that would theoretically make sense for Casey O'Neill. Macy Barber's been calling her out. You got Miranda Maverick in the division. You got, God forbid she goes up against, who's that little terrorizer that just beat Miranda Maverick? Aaron Blanchfield. Like, good God. There's great fighters in the division, but they understand Casey O'Neill, very pretty, only 24 years old, talented. She has her best work on the ground. It seems like her wrestling's okay, but definitely her jiu-jitsu is high level. Well, for a 24-year-old fighter, of course. But her father was a kickboxing champion as well. She's been kickboxing her entire life, and you're seeing the strides that she's making in that. So when you look at Roxanne Modafferi and you look at Casey O'Neill's going to progressively get better fight to fight. So when you look at her fights, the Laura Procopio fight, first round, not good. No. Casey O'Neill looks out of it. Her striking looks hesitant. She's getting hit. All of her takedown attempts get stuffed. And then something happens to Procopio, I'm not sure, but Casey O'Neill just breaks her will, takes her down in the second, dominates. And then you see the next fight, It's just a progression. She's even better. Against Antonina Shevchenko, the early going maybe faces a little bit of trouble here and there, but then eventually breaks her, gets on top of her, takes her down, grinds away. That's going to be the key here as well. If the fight stays standing, edge Casey O'Neill. She's sharper, she's faster. Roxanne Modafferi has never had a developed striking game, never had a significant striking game. But it's the takedowns. That's what's key. Roxanne's last 2 losses, that they've just been so exploited. 5 takedowns against Taylor Santos, 4 takedowns against Viviane Arroyo. Even Andrea Lee took her down 3 times. 2 for Lauren Murphy. Even in the Macy Barber fight, her last feather in her cap, realistically, the girl blew out her knee in the first round. You can't overlook that. So it's been a crazy good journey for Roxanne. I don't think anybody expected her to get to this height, to get to this level, and to compete for this long. But she has. But this is a passing of the torch, so to speak. It's, enjoy retirement, but Casey O'Neill's the next big thing, and they're looking to push that. So I'm going with the narrative, but beyond the narrative, the physical skill set. The takedown's going to be there all night, right? Roxanne's not going to catch her with a triangle or an armbar off her back, although it's women's MMA, so I wouldn't be completely shocked. And if it does stay standing, again, it's going to be Casey O'Neill. So how does Roxanne win? Roxanne needs a takedown of her own. She needs to get the takedown, establish top control. She's not physically strong enough. And when she takes on strong fighters, that's what she runs into. Taylor Santos, beast. Viviane Arroyo, beast. Unfortunately, Casey O'Neill, beast, right? And I think she'll be too physically strong for Roxanne to take down. Therefore, she'll dictate where she wants to take it. If O'Neill wants to stand, she'll stand. If O'Neill wants to take her down, path of least resistance, she'll do that too.
All right, we got Alex Perez taking on Matt Danger Schnell, minus 380 Perez, plus 290 for Schnell. Who you got here?
Yeah, so we broke down this fight once already. I believe that we were both on Alex Perez, and then Matt Schnell weighs in, and the commission comes over. They say he's got an elevated heart rate, and they scrap the fight. So they rebook it. One's got to wonder, elevated heart rate or not, because I'm told that's not unusual. I'm told like the commission should just gave him 5-10 minutes and let him have a little bit of water and he would have been okay. But he didn't physically appear to be all that good on the scales. He looked to be sickly a little bit anyways. So I don't know. The cut down might be affecting him. I'm not 100% sure, but I just keep going back to the fact that Schnell, when he gets caught clean by heavy power punchers, he tends to go over. You go back to the Pantoja fight, the Hector Sandoval fight, the Rob Font fight. It's just kind of been an issue. He's been able to overcome it a little bit recently, but even then, Tyson Nam just never lets his hands go, and Bontarine more of a grappler. Alex Perez can do it all. The guy's a good wrestler. He's a good striker. He puts pressure on you. BJJ black belt. He's actually extremely well-rounded. The bum deal for him was they offered him a short notice fight against David Figueiredo. He was supposed to fight Brandon Moreno. Moreno falls out. They offer him Davidson. He just jumps into it like a week's notice and loses, which is no shame in that. It's Davidson Figueiredo. And then after that was, well, you lost to him. So that storyline's dead, and they just sent him back to the packing order. So he hasn't fought since. He's had a string of fights fall through, but the only thing that would worry me is the layoff, right? Has he lost a step? But if he hasn't, this is his fight to win. So I do have Alex Perez, but because of the layoff, he's not going to be, again, he's not going to be higher up on the tickets.
Yeah, he's only 29 years old, actually. Kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I don't think he's lost it. Wins over Yusir Formiga. He's fought Joseph Benavidez with the win over Jose Torres, Eric Sheldon. Like, he was good. He's solid. He's still young. Like, no reason to believe he did lose a step.
He only loses.
It makes you wonder.
He only loses to the best. And yeah, he doesn't have the same chin issues that we can expect from Matt Schnell.
The moment we've been waiting for since September is finally here. In honor of the big game, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56, is giving new customers 56-1 odds on either team. Just bet $5 to get $280 in free bets if your team wins. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in New York, meaning you can bet from almost a third of the country. If Sportsbook isn't in your state yet, play DraftKings Daily Fantasy Football Contest for Super Bowl 56. New customers can get a free shot at $1 million top prize with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use promo code DOP for Dog or Pass Podcast, DOP, and get 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code DOP at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56. 21 plus, minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for a full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Tennessee, call or text TN Redline. That's 1-800-889-9789. In Connecticut, call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
All right, moving on. We got Maxime Grishin taking on Thick Willie Knight. Minus 165 Grishin, plus 145 Knight. I mean, going through a little bit of Grishin's stuff, I mean, him versus Jacoby, very, very competitive on the feet. Jacoby is a Glory kickboxer, now an MMA fighter, goes to Glory kickboxing. Now he's back in MMA, but, he's got some and that was incredibly competitive on the feet. Watched William Knight versus Alonzo Manafield. And I don't know. I mean, William Knight, he's absolutely jacked. The guy is completely shredded. Could he catch some Grishin on the chin and knock him out? Perhaps. So it's like Grishin's never been knocked out in the first 3 rounds of a fight. Ankalaev got him in round 4. He fought at heavyweight way back like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Some guy, I can't even remember his name right now. He got knocked out in round 5. Way up in the division. So like we got 6'3" versus 5'10". Like Grishin is a true light heavyweight. It's kind of, for me, watching Knight on the feet, it's like he's got this like check left hook that maybe he can catch it. But I think Maxime Grishin wins this fight on volume. Mind your P's and Q's. Don't get caught by a check left hook. But like, with his size advantage, with his reach advantage, with a lot of things like that, it's like I don't think he needs to necessarily barge in here. He just needs to pick off Knight when Knight tries to enter the pocket. I think Grishin gets the job done here. Obviously, there is the risk of Knight catching him, but I think the price seems more or less fair. I think Grishin has him in most aspects of the game. What about you?
Should have him in most aspects of the game. This fight comes down to on paper. On paper, Grishin wins this matchup, but not 100% sure how it's going to shake out once it comes down to it. Because Grishin's one of these guys that, at least in my eyes, is a tad bit inconsistent. The fight with Marcin Tybura, he takes at heavyweight, so I won't hold anything against him. But he just got pinned up against the cage, couldn't do anything. Let's not even talk about it. It's a heavyweight fight. The Gazmarat Antigulov fight, he looked awful. Against Gazmarat Antigulov for the better part of a round and a half before Gazmarat Antigulov completely gassed himself out and Grishin took over. Low-level win. So when he gets blitzed against Dustin Jacoby, I put the Bizank on Dustin Jacoby, all about it. And Grishin shows up, man. Oh, man. Dude, he outstruck Dustin Jacoby in 2 of the 3 rounds. And as far as outlets, I don't know that Polstat Sport, but I'm sure they're European. But Marcel Dorf, 3 guys: Jay Petrie, Ben Duffy, and Tristan Crinchfield, all from Sherdog, MMA Mania. They all scored the fight for Grishin. Mm-hmm. I'm biting my nails when they're reading that scorecard. It's a close fight against a good opponent. His striking looked good. His cardio looked good. Fight metrics got him throwing 75 significant strikes in the 3rd round alone. The 3rd round, when you're supposed to be tired. So he looked real good in that fight, but he's 37. So is he getting better? Probably not. Is he getting more comfortable? Well, dude's already got a wealth of experience, but maybe getting more comfortable in the UFC. Or is it a case-by-case thing where it's like on some nights he's going to be good, on some nights he's going to be bad? That's possible. But against Thick Willie has been, again, the beneficiary of easier matchups, I suppose. Dong Jung makes him look bad, right? Takes him down at will. But then Fabio Cherant, he was backing up the whole time. His striking did not look good. Closes his eyes and just wings a hook and happens to catch Fabio Cherant. Not a high-level win, in my opinion, but a win nonetheless, so you can't take that away from him. Then the Alonzo Manafield fight, again, it's low volume.
Same check, the same left hook against Manafield. the exact same.
And
Like,
you
that's
brought this up.
That's probably
So I don't
got
got to bring up the dude's physique. Yeah, I don't got to bring up the dude's physique again because you already mentioned it. But he's super jacked. Of course, he could land. And of course, if he lands, it's probably going to cause a copious amount of damage. I don't think anybody's denying that. The thing is when you're backing up, when he has a terrible frame for the division, got a great frame for the ladies in the beach, but he's so short with such a small reach at this weight class that it's not beneficial to him. I truly don't believe. His wrestling, not great. I would, if I was coaching him, I'd say let's mix that into this fight for sure, because Grishin's been pinned up against the cage. He's been out muscled, and who's going to out-muscle Thick Willie, right? I mean, the guy's all muscle. So try to use that to your advantage. But if it stays in the open range, and this is big cage, it's Grishin. If the fight was to hit the ground, especially Grishin on top, listen, he's a savvy vet. But if for whatever reason Johnson can go in Knight can go in and get takedowns and establish some top control, he could just cook time off the clock, man. That's my worry with Grishin.
That's fair.
Is in the Anti-Gulov fight, he just didn't do anything. In the Tybura fight, he just didn't do anything. And then in the Jacoby fight, finally he did. I'd like to believe that's him figuring it out, but he's 37 with 40 pro fights. This is something he should have already figured out. So I think the logical choice would be Max Grishin. But if you're thinking to yourself, geez, you guys are picking a lot of favorites, who's some of these favorites that can come through? I think Vanderaa can come through. I think Nasrat could come through. Of course, the heavyweight fights are the heavyweight fights. Anything can happen there. But I kind of got a feeling that on a good night, William Knight could pull the proper game plan together. But more often than not, it'll be Grishin. So the pick will be Grishin. Lower down. I can smell the apple pie shit potentially, and I don't like it.
Grishin puts in, I think him and like Sean Strickland are like main sparring partners. So Strickland looked good last week. Hopefully Grishin's been putting in that work with him along the way. All right, your boy, Ronnie Lawrence takes on Mana Martinez, minus 300 Lawrence, plus 235 Martinez. I'm going to make a prediction here, Cody. You're not picking the underdog here.
Yeah, no, not at all. Mana Martinez not as advertised as far as I'm concerned. He's still young. He's still figuring it out. He was on the Contender Series one time originally. Actually, first of all, he lost to Delaney Perry, which is hilarious. Delaney Perry ended up going on to the Ultimate Fighter later on. But it's just kind of a low-level loss. Win over Ricky Tercios, looks good. And then he comes on Contender Series against Draco Rodriguez. Got off to a bit of a hot start. The kid's clearly got a lot of power in his hands, and he'll let them just sling from both sides. And kind of equal power in the left or right. So he is a dangerous opponent. But as soon as it hit the ground, Draco Rodriguez just snares him up in a triangle choke. First round triangle choke, that's usually a sign of some lower level stuff. So he picks together up a couple wins. I would again say lower level, and they book him against Guido Canetti. Now his coach, Saul Solis, just passed away. So it's an emotional experience for him, I'm sure. But this is time to do it, baby. It's your UFC debut. Super soft matchup, right? The whole narrative is for you. You're a minus 280 favorite. He's 25 years old. It's in his backyard. This is Mana Martinez all day. And of course, I loaded up. Who didn't load up in that spot? Guido Canetti's in his 40s. And this is a tailor-made matchup for him. Dude, he didn't look good. See, he didn't deal well with pressure. And where he's got a ton of power, look at his 2 wins before that. Jose Johnson, 32 seconds. Casey Johnson, a minute. What about when it goes beyond a minute? What about when it goes 3 minutes, 5 minutes? That's when he falls apart. He fell apart against Guido Canetti, who's someone who's kind of known as a one-round fighter himself, but a pressure fighter. And that pressure style backed him up. I thought Mana won, but it's a split decision. And it's another spot where I'm biting my fingernails thinking to myself, what did I miss? And then you do the recap show, and you say on the recap show always, I learned my lesson. Well, my lesson here, Mana, not trustworthy, just not that good. Could he clip him? Well, we know he's got power, so he could clip him early. That's his best path to victory. And at 25, could he be making improvements and this and that, yada, yada, yada? Absolutely. Of course he could. But Ronnie Lawrence, good luck, bud. You think pressure from Guido Canetti something? Wait until my boy Ronnie puts the pressure on you. I mean, he's just foot on the gas pedal the entire time, all gas, no brakes. He's got good takedown game, but he's relentless with it. Even if you do get up, he just keeps sucking the energy. His striking is good. His kicks are very versatile, very fast from the outside. But American Top Team is just too good of a gym to allow this guy not to use his grappling as well. And he does a very good job of transitioning and blending the two seamlessly. I think he's a top prospect. I think he's young. I think he's only getting better. And I think Mana Martinez, one of them comes out, looks legit. This is a legit prospect. And Ronnie Lawrence wins on the Contender Series, right? Goes on to bigger and better things, looks the part. We got Mana Martinez, not that good of a prospect, has shown us, loses on the Contender Series. He's a first minute banger bust kind of guy, letting his hands go. There's nothing beyond that. We got to go Ronnie. And are they trying to trick me, Paul? Ronnie's only
so.
minus 300. Is it a trap? Is it a trap? Because I'm going to definitely go Ronnie Lawrence. Ronnie Lawrence is going to be a pivotal piece of a lot of the lineups for sure. I hope that's what it sits at, I guess. But I think he's as good as advertised. You talked to a biggest favorite on the card, Kyler Phillips. I like Ronnie just as much.
I like Ronnie better than all of the other favorites at the top level, to be perfectly honest. Because O'Neal, we kind of talked about it. Like, we think she wins. You know, Roxanne's on her way out the door, but she is still pretty green. Like, there's something that we haven't seen in her game. My only question, like, Mana Martinez is like a purple belt in BJJ. I mean, I rewatched the Draco Rodriguez versus Mana Martinez. He throws up some submissions and then, gets subbed himself. So that would be my only question is, like, does Ronnie maybe get caught in a submission? But otherwise, I think, like, mind your P's and Q's, at least entering the pocket the first time. He seems pretty smart from that perspective. And, I mean, he landed 8 takedowns against Vince Cachero, and on Contender Series, 12 takedowns. Mana Martinez is going to be fighting off of his back quite early in this fight, and that's where we want it to be going down. So, circling Ronnie Lawrence as a parlay piece for myself. Moving on down, we've got Renato Moicano taking on Alexander Hernandez. Minus 160 Moicano, plus 140 Hernandez. I mean, my initial thought of this one before watching tape was, Moicano's chinny. Maybe this is a spot where Hernandez, gets off, finds a finish early. It's possible. But, like, I really thought if the Moicano from that Calvin Kattar fight shows up, now it was a few years ago now, if he shows up in this spot, just landing tons of leg kicks early, totally took Kattar out of his comfort zone. Cater's a great boxer. I think Moicano is a very rightful favorite here to get the job done. I'm just not impressed with what Hernandez does on the feet. I think he does switch his stances a whole bunch, but, like, he eats leg kicks. His legs are out there to be kicked. Investing in those leg kicks early will be very, very big for Moicano. If it goes to the mat, I don't know if he's going to be really strong enough to take Alexander Hernandez down and hold him down, but the grappling ability of Moicano is on a different level than Hernandez. I think he's a rightful favorite. The only thing is, does he get clipped by something big? It's possible, but I think Moicano gets the job done. What about you?
Yeah, honestly, you basically stole the words right out of my mouth. I agree with almost all your points. I think that Moicano should win. He's got the better all-around skill set. I think stand-up-wise, he's going to have a little bit more volume. He's going to touch him up. If the fight did hit the ground, he's got better jiu-jitsu by a pretty good margin, I'd say. He could theoretically submit him as wrestling, not half bad. But, yeah, there's that one question. What if Alexander Hernandez lands? Because, yeah, he's got big wins, man. The Beneil Dariush fight sticks in your head as if this guy lands on you, he's explosive. He carries power. His last 2 wins, the Mike Breeden fight and the Chris Grutzmacher fight, both big knockouts. He's got that power on display. But it's Chris Grutzmacher and Mike Breeden. Like, I think that's his thing. He's a confidence-based fighter. When he was talking all that smack against Donald Cerrone, he's trying to amp himself up because he doesn't believe it deep down. Donald Cerrone pieces him up. Then he gets Francisco Trinaldo. The fight's in Texas. He's from Texas. This is a hometown fight. They are all behind him. And for the record, he is a minus 240 favorite. He may have lost that fight. It was a close fight. He's lucky it was in Texas because he did not look good. Then the Drew Dober fight. Well, he stands in front of Drew Dober. He's super hesitant. He doesn't let his hands go in the first round. He doesn't explode. Doesn't try to attack. And gets himself knocked out in the second. Chris Grutzmacher, aging veteran, slow guy. But this Thiago Moises fight, because I took a bath on this one, he's a minus 225 favorite over Thiago Moises. This is an excellent fight because Thiago Moises is not a good striker. We've seen him get outstruck in pretty much all of his fights. He's coming off a fight with Michael Johnson where he absolutely got ringed, pillar to post, standing. He doesn't have the wrestling game to take down Hernandez, who's decent pedigree, right? Mm-hmm. And so his best weapon is jiu-jitsu off the table. This is a Hernandez all-day long type fight. And Paul, what does he do? He stands there and stares at him. His striking looked abysmal. Wasn't exploding. He moves around, then he gets tired. And then he stops moving. And then he stands there and he stares. Same thing he does in the Trinaldo fight. So I know Factory X has been working on settling him down and add these different things to him and get him to believe that confidence. But when you walk out and you beat Mike Breeden in a minute 20, you're not feeling the deeper rounds. You're not feeling the burn in your thighs from having moved around and danced on your feet for 7.5 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10
We
minutes.
expected him to win that fight in devastating fashion, and he came through. But yeah, it was Mike Breeden.
And he's a minus 650 favorite in that spot. Huge.
He did
favorite,
what he's supposed to.
But if Renato Moicano was fighting Mike Breeden, he would have been a minus 1,000, minus 1,200. Like, it's because even on that spot against Mike Breeden, a guy that's taking the fight on short notice for Leo Santos, Mike Breeden stepped in on a week's notice. He's still only minus 650 because there's still that seed of doubt of, well, he just got beat up by Thiago Moises. He doesn't really truly believe in himself. Like, he's not the most trustworthy guy going. But don't let any of that fool you that he couldn't still land that big shot. And Moicano seems like the kind of guy that might be susceptible for the big shot. But again, we got to go with official picks. That's what we do on the show. The PRP, you got to squeeze them all in. Even if you'd rather pass, you squeeze them all in. Moicano is the pick that we're going with because truthfully, I think he's got the better volume. I think he's got the better cardio. And once he's able to kind of not hurt, but tire out Hernandez, back him up and get him desperate, Hernandez will shoot a sloppy takedown. Moicano will end up on top, go to work.
Yeah, and just to add on, like round 3 against Thiago Moises for Hernandez, like you could see that Hernandez was very, very tired. And even the last minute of that fight, Moises is like goading him on, like, hey, let's exchange. And like Hernandez had nothing left. Like he's losing.
No. And he was with Factory X for 2 camps going into that fight. So that's him at his best, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's knockout or bust as far as I'm concerned for him. We got Carlos Ulberg taking on Fabio Cherant, minus 250. Carlos Ulberg plus 200 on Cherant. I mean, watching back Carlos Ulberg versus Kennedy and Njoku. Ooh-wee. That was super, super fun. But with, City Kickboxing, they must go back to the drawing board and be like, while that was a lot of fun, and maybe you just knock out Cherant in the first round by doing that the exact same this time around, he was like once Kennedy had taken all of his shots, the tides really, really turned. He landed 146 significant strikes over, what was that, like 10 minutes? A little bit less than 10 minutes? Like, what a wild, wild fight. Super, super entertaining. But I think he's going to have to show a little bit more composure. I was eyeing the under in this one. The over-under is minus 145 to the under. And I was like, you know what? If I'm City Kickboxing, I'm telling this guy, you have better skills on the feet than Fabio Cherant in this fight. Pick your shots. Be a little bit more patient. So I elected to stay away from it. I think they hand selected this opponent for Ulberg. He's a buddy of Izzy Adesanya's. They know that the guy's got talent. He's in good shape. He's a great looking guy. Like, he had Laura Sanko in shambles on the Contender Series because she was so good looking during their post fight interview. I think he gets the job done. I think they have a little bit more of a tactical approach this time around. I'll go with Ulberg, but minus 250. If he comes out and goes absolutely buck wild, things could get dicey. Fabio Cherant is a guy who has went 5 rounds in the past, so buyer beware. Ulberg for me. What about you?
Yeah, it's a buyer beware scenario. The price tag's too big. The unknowns are too big. He's only 3-1. The only reason he's on the UFC's roster is because he's friends with Israel Adesanya. So, yeah, should he be here based on merit? Probably not. He did not look good in his first fight. He's been off a year effectively since then. Did he spend that year to get better? One would hope so. But he hasn't been getting that ring time in. So what's to say that he can go and fight a hard 3 rounds? And I'm not saying he's going to need to, but you got to be able to, because we don't know that. It'd be hard to like really load up and have any real confidence in him. But yeah, no, I mean, the narrative is 100% in his favor. So first and foremost, yeah, he's a male model. He's supposed to be on like New Zealand's version of The Bachelor. Like, the dude's super cool over there. He's popular. They bring him on the Contender Series. He smokes Bruno Oliveira. His striking does look good. He had fought in those those tournaments down in Australia, New Zealand, pretty high level enough kickboxing, fair. So when he fights Kennedy and Njoku, they're bringing him in to fight on the undercard of Jan Blachowicz versus Adesanya. Yeah, it's the relationship. You're going to fight on Izzy undercards. That's why you're here. Izzy undercards. They gave him a list of 6 potential of opponents. And of those 6 guys, they determined Kennedy Njoku would be the easiest matchup for him, and they took it. But here's the problem is that Kennedy Njoku is 6'5" with an 83-inch reach. So it's very difficult to prepare for that. Whereas a lot of Ulberg's best weapons is he himself pretty big, 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. That was all taken off the table. They had a wild fight. He starts off good. He hurt Kennedy a couple times, but Kennedy withstood it. I would say good learning experience. Hey, you can't just bum rush guys. This is the UFC. You can't overlook any opponent. You're going to have to train harder. You're going to have to pace yourself. But now taking on Cherant. Cherant's like 6'1". So he's got a 3-inch height advantage instead of giving up the height advantage. The 77 reach, well, now he's got a 3-inch reach advantage as well. Actually, what is Fabio Cherant's? Is 74?
His reach?
74-inch reach.
I go, okay. Yeah. He was 76
what
on
do you-
Tapology.
Yeah.
But I can look at the UFC.
That's what I go by just because I feel like the
Fabio
UFC
Cherant.
measures them.
Yeah.
Which Tapology certainly
UFC
doesn't. They
stats
just
has
wait
it
for them.
74. I mean, it really comes down
Yeah,
to
so-
Cherant doesn't have the durability that Kennedy has. I don't think. I think Ulberg wins by knockout here. Like, how do you beat Fabio Cherant? Well, Alexa Kamor landed
Knock
a
him out.
flying knee on him, knocked him out.
Exactly.
He got submitted with a Von Flue choke by Alonzo Menafield, and then obviously last time out, I think we were talking about it earlier, that check left hook absolutely starts him. He wasn't looking too bad in that, but the chin is definitely compromised. I mean, I'm actually surprised he's only 27 years old, but the chin is the path here, and that's somebody that Carlos Ulberg needs, basically.
Yeah, now I'm feeling that. I think Cherant could pull the upset, but he's been hand selected once again. He's 0-2 in the UFC and 0-1 on the Contender Series. So he's effectively 0-3 for the Zuffa organization. He's being brought in because Ulberg's buddy is headlining another pay-per-view, and it is a favor. So yeah. If he bum rushes him and he catches him, he's gonna knock him out. If he lays back and bides his time, hopefully he doesn't tire himself out, but he's the better striker. If Cherant goes in and shoots takedowns, could be a path, because even if you don't get them, you'll tire the guy out from being forced to defend them. So it's all interesting enough for me on a 15-fight card. I would lean towards a pass, but again, PRPs, full card predictions, which is what we do. I guess I would have to go Ulberg, but if you want a wild, greasy underdog on the card, maybe it's Cherant. Maybe he's this week's flyer.
Yeah, it's hard to feel that confident in Ulberg, because if he doesn't get the knockout and he fights at that pace, well, he's already proven that he's not going 15 minutes at that speed. I think he'll have some adjustments and use his. He's got better technique for 100%. I think they'll come with a little bit of a better game plan this time around. Moving on down, we've got talking about game plans. Well, this guy has an absolute lack of them, at least from what I've seen on tape. A lot of it is like low-level regional stuff. But AJ Dobson, -115. Jacob Malkoun, -105. Pretty much a straight pick 'em. Dobson, I made a joke about it, that Dobson fights like I do in the UFC video game on easy mode. Like, he is just spamming stuff until you die. It's super, super entertaining. I'm not so sure about his, the longevity of his career at the UFC level. He's already 30 years old, so we're probably getting close to a finished product here. I grabbed the under. It's been moving. It's -145 now, under 2.5 rounds. I grabbed the under at like -120. I think it's still playable. The under 2.5 rounds at -145 right now. Jacob Malkoun, in terms of like what he did in his last fight out against Abdulrazak Al-Hassan, like he could definitely make that under lose by fighting the exact same strategy as he did against Al-Hassan. Slow the fight down, get it up against the cage. I'm not convinced that he's a better grappler than Dobson. I'm not entirely sure what Dobson's grappling is all about. But, Yeah, I'm hoping for absolute chaos here. I'm going to pick Malkoon just because I think that AJ Dobson is incredibly sloppy, but this fight has variance written all over it. Anytime AJ Dobson is in a fight, expect variance because this guy's a wild man. What's your take here?
Yeah, so you've on this card you've got Carlos Ulberg is Izzy's buddy, and Mike Macetha, Blood Diamond. He's Israel's buddy, and then you got Jacob Malkoon, who's Team Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker's BJJ coach. He competed in like the ADCC trials and whatnot. Good grappling, good BJJ black belt. Debuts in the UFC doesn't make any sense, but of course he's brought in. I guess because he's buddies with Robert Whittaker, like that's generally why these lower level guys will get in at times. But he's supposed to have great BJJ. This is even a fight that Cody Saftic took Phil Hawes in, whereas I just didn't see a path for him. You watch some stuff on the regional scene, it's not super high level. He doesn't have great experience, and his jiu-jitsu's great. But Phil Hawes, listen, the guy did wrestle collegiately, won a junior college national title. Going to be hard to take the guy down. And Phil Hawes just knocks him out in 18 seconds. Now Hawes is a heavy hitter, an explosive guy. A 3-minute fighter, but he can catch you. But 18 seconds doesn't really give you that big reassurance. So now when he fought Radul Azar-Hassan, he's a plus 240 underdog. Nobody really expects this guy to win. He looked terrible against Phil Hawes. He got punched out in 18 seconds. And it turns out, dude, his wrestling's not bad, and his jiu-jitsu is pretty good. He just completely neutralized him for the entirety of it. So you have a guy that's now 1-1 in the UFC, and it's the tale of two fights. One fight, he gets punched out in 18 seconds. The other fight, it's all grind, all takedowns, all jiu-jitsu. Well, that's what he's best at, and that's what's successful for him. Abdul Razak Al-Hassan is a high-level judo black belt. They call him Judo Thunder. The guy, takedown defense, not great, but not bad. 8 takedowns whenever he wanted them. And beyond that, cardio. He just sucked the life out of him, broke him slowly, methodically, and beat him up. It was actually a good performance. I was interested in seeing more of him. So they booked this Dobson fight on the Ngannou card. And it's just been rescheduled over. But I would think it's much of the same. You're going to have to get a hold of this guy, and you're going to have to peel him to the ground. Not going to be easy early. Dobson's super explosive, a very powerfully strong guy. Trains with Louis Simmons over in Ohio. And Louis Simmons just like an absolute legend in the powerlifting world. And he's not exactly the cleanest guy himself, but he trains like a powerlifting team. He spent time with Matt Brown as well, and he spent time with a couple of the, high-level Ohio guys, but he spends a lot of time on his strength and conditioning in particular. He's a very strong guy. And he claims he can fight at this pace for a while. I just don't believe it. So I think more often than not, he's going to come out hot for the first 3 minutes, the first round. And if he doesn't catch Malkoon should be able to eventually to take him down, grind him out, have his way. But whenever you've been knocked out in 18 seconds, it's only 2 fights ago, you're not one of my guys. You're not one of my guys I can lean on. Like, I like these guys that are just cast iron durable. They're going to take a beating. They're going to give it their absolute best go. And for Malkoon, even though I did think he looked good in his last fight, he's just 1-1 in the UFC. Very green in his MMA career. Doesn't have the ring time cage experience. And Dobson could want to be these low-key apple pie shitter guys where he just comes out of left field and boots him with a spam head kick. Because like you said, he just spams techniques, but everything he throws is power. And in theory, this makes it a volatile fight with just an unpredictable outcome. So I would lean towards a stay away on a 15-fight card. But the official pick, gonna have to go with another favorite, Big Jacob Malkoon.
Not even a favorite. It's, I guess, slight underdog. I mean, it's a straight-up pick 'em. All right, moving on down. We've got Sergey Morozov taking on Douglas Silva de Andrade. -210 Morozov, +175. Douglas Silva de Andrade. Who you got here?
I gotta go with Morozov, man. I really do like this guy. He was solid on the M1 scene, fighting some of the best guys. And a lot of the time when you sign with the UFC, coming off a regional scene, it's like, soft regional scene, and you fought local guys in Kentucky, Louisiana, or Indiana, or Canada. And there's softer regional scenes. They fight on South America, not Brazil. They got a good regional scene. You can fight low-level guys, and when you come to the UFC, there's an adjustment. But in Morozov's case, it's like he's been competing at a very high level for a while. He shows wins over Andy Young. He fought Rafael Diaz. His losses are to Pavel Vitruk, Josh Reddinghouse, good guys. He fought Movsar Evloev. This is all prior to coming to the UFC. So when he came in, I thought this guy's going to be ready to go, skill set's probably not going to improve a whole lot, but he's not just going to be somebody who needs a few fights to get his feet wet. They give him Umar Nurmagomedov. Talk about a difficult outing. You're taking on a guy that's probably one of the better guys in the division, just doesn't have that reputation quite yet. And he gives an okay showing, but he's just obviously not at Umar's level. It's that next fight with Khalid Taha. That's when you see him get his wrestling game going, and that's him at his best. It's a suffocating, grinding type style. I know he's not Russian per se. I believe he is from Kazakhstan. Yeah, he's from Kazakhstan. But he's one of these physically strong guys that likes to put that grind on you and apply that grind. Douglas D'Andrade, meanwhile, is quite the opposite. He's very powerfully built, but an excellent striker. But you can grind on this guy, and you can take him down. In his last few fights, Lerone Murphy took him down. Henan Barrow took him down. Peter Yan took him down. Rob Font took him down. In the UFC, he shows 66% takedown defense. I think grinding on him, getting him to utilize some of that muscle early, and then eventually taking him down successfully second and third rounds, and just trying to, try to submit him. Absolutely try to submit him. But beyond that, get the position, cause him to work, and just rinse and repeat. I think Morozov's capable of doing it. So, I just fight that Russian style. We all love that style. Morozov is capable of it. And with D'Andrade, even though he is just absolutely shredded, he's 36 years old. He's coming up on his 37th birthday. His wins over Gaetano Perello just got cut today, actually. Henan Barrow released from the promotion. Marlon Vera, that's a solid one, but the other guys all released. So, as you can see on the undercard, there's a little more volatility. Like, we're passing on a few more, but I think Morozov's someone you roll with, and I think you take him.
I'm not even going to lie. This is like the one fight that I haven't even been able to get around to watching any tape on. So I was thinking about being an underdog shot, but now that you've said that, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna reassess, watch some tape on it. I don't have a great pick on it. I'm not gonna completely lie here and say that I've got some hot take on it, because I do have a hot take on the last fight of the first fight of the night. I mean, I wrote his name down on the board for the people who are just listening. I wrote it down as Blood Diamond because I watched an interview with this guy. I think it was on Israel Adesanya's YouTube channel, and he refers to himself as Blood Diamond. Everyone at the gym calls him Blood Diamond. He's like, some people have asked, like, is that racist or whatever? He's like, it doesn't bother me, so it shouldn't bother you. So we're calling him Blood Diamond. That's what he refers to himself as. That's what is going to be on the board. His name is actually like Mike Mathitha. Either way. What's that? Does he have a lisp when he says it? No. God, I hope not. Yeah, it's definitely a mouthful. Pat asked if he has a lisp when he says it, for those who can't hear him through the door. Anyway, Jeremiah Wells -235, Blood Diamond +190. Wells should have a massive grappling advantage in this spot. He is a wild man in his own right. I went back and watched like the one time he went 5 rounds, and I think that was like a changer for him. And he said, you know what? I'm a physically imposing guy. I can't fight this style of fight, because he loses a unanimous 5-round decision in a championship CES fight against Vincius de Jesus. And I think he was kind of like, I got to go balls to the wall. Follows that up with a first-round finish in 22 seconds. Round 2 submission, rear naked choke. And then Warley Alves, round 1 against him. He shoots right out of a cannon. Absolute savage. And I think in this fight, Blood Diamond, on the other hand, he's like Izzy's buddy from kickboxing. They went to China and like kickboxed together, and they were, buddies, and they've been training together for a long time. So it was a big thing for the gym. Like, they didn't really expect this guy to get to the UFC, and obviously Izzy's, he's headlining the card. Got him a spot. He's only 3-0, but he's got tons of kickboxing experience. It looks a little bit sloppy, but like, who the hell am I to say? He has some like really, really wild like spinning techniques and stuff. I'm expecting absolute pandemonium. If you're Jeremiah Wells, you are closing the pocket immediately. Use that strength and power that you've got. Like, guy's absolutely jacked. Take him down and use your grappling, which is solid. I think that's the more likely path to victory. I jumped in, and this is my biggest bet of the night. I jumped in a little bit earlier in the week. I got the under 1.5 at minus 120 and minus 130, minus 155. It's like with these 1.5 round props, like I still think it hits, but once you start getting over like minus 155, it's like it starts getting a little bit dicey. Because what if these guys come out and have a little bit of a feeling out process? We haven't seen anything. At least
I don't love unders.
Yeah, I hit it a little bit better than the prices right now, but I would be a little bit more hesitant about it in this spot. But like Jeremiah Wells has given us no reason to think that's his style of fighting. And Blood Diamond could land some absolute wild spinning ish. See, I don't even swear, so you don't have to bleep that out. But he could land some absolute spinning stuff. Jeremiah Wells has never been knocked out, but this could be the guy to land something that he's never actually seen before coming from a weird angle. Like, this guy's got a real funky style, but I think Wells takes him down and absolutely mauls him down there. What about you?
Yeah, I don't even really know what to expect because on one hand, Blood Diamond, Mike Mathetha, should he be in the UFC? Like, probably not. But hey, it's another spot where your buddy is Adesanya. He's on the pay-per-view. He's headlining. You got a little bit of pull. Ulberg's going to be on the card, so you get brought in. So a lot of these guys, you don't earn it on your own merit. What can we go back and really see? Ulberg, he lost his UFC debut. Is this going to be another case? Is the guy going to come out, throw some crazy spinning techniques early and then gas out? Does he have a ground game? If Wells takes him down. Wells is not just has a better ground game. He's BJJ black belt out of Enzo Gracie Philly. Like, are you kidding me? He's got legit grappling. The guy's a powerhouse. If the fight hits the ground, I would assume Blood Diamond's in a lot of trouble. Beyond that, I watched a bunch of his kickboxing. He had some fights in China that were wars. I mean, sweet fights. Fight of the night candidates. Very good. Sloppy technique. Timing's all over the place. Hard to get a read of. Very entertaining, but good fights. And then at some point, I think he spends the best time of his career in the kickboxing ring in China. He comes back to Australia, New Zealand, fights in a lot of those King of the Ring tournaments. And then it appears to me that he's a little sloppier. He's not quite as tight and technical. He's not quite as in good shape. He'll throw the crazy flying technique. He loves that step-in knee right up the middle. He'll throw flying knees, but he loves that knee because he has that long frame. But when they start pressuring him and they cause him to fight off his back foot, not great. And has power because of the flashy techniques, of course, if they land. But his fundamentals, not that fundamentally sound. So I wasn't super high in his kickboxing. I think his record was 55-14 or something, but never went to Glory Kickbox. Oh, this is what's interesting. I don't know shit about this guy, so I had to do the digging as well, right? So I see some stuff on him, and he's like, oh, my dream is to compete for Glory Kickboxing. That's the dream. Want to compete for Glory Kickboxing. And at no point does Glory, who signs everybody, by the way, give this guy a shot. They don't. Okay, fair enough. He was Izzy's buddy. Izzy fought in Glory. A lot of high-level guys fight there. They elect not to pick him up. So he's 33 years old now. Have you seen that? That's the only number I was able to find because Tapology doesn't list his age. Mm-hmm. But if you go,
I never even saw his age. But I assumed if like him and Izzy were, running the streets in China together, that they were around the same age. And Izzy's 32. So Pat's got a question. So, one second, Pat's got a question here.
Do you even like gambling if you're not betting on Blood Diamond? Look at this guy. First round knockout.
I mean, that's a possibility.
Money on it right now.
First
fight of the night, bam. Wesley Snipes, knockout.
It could happen. I mean, but Pat.
He does give you Wesley Snipes vibes. You can't deny that.
100%. 100%. He actually seemed like a very, very affable, nice guy in his interviews as well. But
he's got like a 2-inch
Wells has been knocked out once. It was a decade ago, and it was his first amateur fight. Like the guy's never been knocked out, but this is the guy to potentially do it. That's why I just said I'm playing the unders, and I jammed some money earlier in the week at the unders because I see something crazy could land for Blood Diamond. Pat's betting Blood Diamond by KO. Pat says just hit it.
Would it change your mind to know that in Blood Diamond's last MMA win, which was his last fight, he did not knock out, but he had to go full distance with a guy by the name of Dimps Gillies? Dimps, Pat. His name's Dimps. By the way, the dude's 5-4 now. Not very good.
Yeah,
and
Dimps
again,
has
I think
lost
these are
all of
my
his
issues.
fights. I know he beat somebody named Blake Donnelly.
To push back on that,
Donnelly.
Dimp sounds
my
like
boy.
a guy who would just kind of lay there. Like he'd be hard to finish. He sounds like a bag of wet potatoes or something like that.
Fair.
Dimps. Oh man. I'll wrap it up by leaving it at this, right? So he's 33. He has not had an MMA fight in almost 2 years to the day. He's got no ground game that anybody would know of.
Well, he has a submission win on his record somehow, but I watched that one even, and it was
watched it as well.
It was
bomb.
Like,
he's on the guy's back. He's on the guy's back for a while.
Yeah, that guy was not a Henzo Gracie black belt. I can assure you of that.
Paul, you've watched 10,000 hours of tape, so you know this, right? How many times have you seen a guy take the back and put a body triangle on? A zillion, right? How many guys have you seen had to use their hands to pull their own feet? Like, most guys just slap it on. They just slap it on. They don't need their arms in order to slap a body triangle on from a back position. He's like fumbling around, tightens it up, fights with this rear naked choke. The guy he's fighting is no good. He's been on for 2 years. He's 33. No ground game that we really know of. And his own trainer, Eugene Berriman, mentioned he's like, the dude's very difficult to train because there's no game plan. You can't make a game plan for him because he doesn't go out thinking, I'm going to set a trap 1-1-2. No, he spams techniques. He throws flying knees. He steps in the middle. He goes with the flow. He's a reflex based fighter. I just don't know that he's in the prime of his career anymore. And he absolutely has no ground game that I would know of. A fight with Orion Koski is interesting because Orion Koski has a wrestling advantage and is going to take him down, but he's got terrible gas tank and he's very inexperienced. So a guy like that, Blood Diamond, could maybe survive the early round and come back just like Phil Rowe did, right? But Jeremiah Wells, that's a worst fight, man. He's a short-nosed replacement, but that's a way worse fight. He's 34. Mm-hmm. He's well-seasoned. He's beaten way better guys. He's got a better wrestling game. He's got a way better jiu-jitsu game. And if for whatever reason it did stay standing, I don't think Wells could do it for a long period of time because you'd gas yourself out. But his striking looked good against Warlley Alves. He was just bum-rushing him with technique straight down the middle. Like,
well, for sure.
Yeah, Wells could... Of course, it's MMA. He could lose, but I will give you this: he could come out and look like a -600 favorite. He could come out and look like this. He could make this look real easy. Early takedown,
yeah, get a takedown, and you'll absolutely smother this kid. Like it shouldn't even be competitive. And I'm sure, like he's trains with Paul Felder. Like I'm sure he's watched his tape. He's done his due diligence. Standing in that range and exchanging with the kickboxer is just a bad game.
Trains with Sean Brady, and I would just be like, I want to fight just like that guy because I have a very similar skill set. Like, just get to work, baby.
Yeah, I'm all over the under. Hey, Pat's waving at me.
Okay, 10,000 hours of fight study
in my life.
Yeah, that's what Cody's saying.
Probably.
Oh, all I do is watch these fights. I saw this guy. You want to know what you should do for this fight? Watch this.
Uh-oh. I have no idea what he's up to.
Blood Diamond. Look at this guy. How are you not betting him?
I'm betting. I'm kind of betting him. I'm on the under. Maybe he wins by knockout.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm respecting him enough to say that he could land something early. If he doesn't, it's gonna be real rough.
You guys are fucking haters.
No.
Blood Diamond.
Never.
Blood Diamond.
Pat's got.
I'll tell you what.
If Blood Diamond wins in the first like 20 seconds by like spinning helicopter kick, I'm gonna be happy. I'm in a win-win situation unless this goes 7.5 minutes. I really don't see it. Like this one, I really don't see going very long. Like Wells either gets him down, uses that BJJ black belt, and absolutely just mauls this kid, or Wells could knock him out on the feet too. The guy just throws absolute haze. Or Blood Diamond lands something crazy as Wells is like barging the pocket. I'm expecting chaos.
New scenario. Blood Diamond is to Israel Adesanya what Martin Sano was to Nick Diaz, and he is just filling up a spot on the card, Paul.
Yeah,
and it ain't gonna go good for
10-second knockout.
Yeah. Like, but it's Nick Diaz's buddy, man. They're gonna give him a good fight. It's like they gave him Wells is a tough fight. Even Semmelsberger, there's ways around him, but like I don't know. You
Wells-
better hope that
Wells is
fights the
coming
same way he
off
fought with
of-
Alves and gasses. This is your only chance.
Wells is coming off of a pretty good win against Warley Alves, who has a win over Colby Covington, and then he goes to this.
Veteran,
Like,
14
they did
fight
not
UFC
give this
veteran.
guy any sort. They did not give blood. Pat's back again.
You just applied cuss logic to why the Jets should be Super Bowl champion, by the way.
Well, you don't
the
even.
Jets beat the
You
Bengals.
barely even know who Colby Covington
Yeah, he's
is.
that guy. Loves Trump.
Okay, he knows who Colby Covington is. Either way, like the step up in competition for Blood Diamond here is severe. I think he gets taken down early, subbed, and then we're on to the next fight after that. Anyway, stuff that I have right now. I've got the money on the under in the Blood Diamond versus Jeremiah Wells fight, as we've repeated like 7 times. I'm under 2.5 in the Malkoon Dobson fight, but I do have a little bit of concern that like Malkoon could stretch this fight out a bit. I think I'm gonna parlay Ronnie Lawrence and Casey O'Neill together. After we've talked about it, it seems like those are good spots. And then I'm going to add Bobby Green and Jared Cannonier. I may wait on Bobby Green because it seems like people are betting Nasrat. I'm ready to hurt again with Bobby Green. But yeah, Cannonier I think is in a great spot and at a very, very playable line as well. So that's where my money so far is going this week. Hit him with the PRP, kid.
Hit him with the PRP. So we got Israel Adesanya. You can use him as top ticket material because, of course, it's the main event and he is a likable favorite. We're going to go with Derrick Lewis. We're going to go with Jared Cannonier. We're going to go with Kyler Phillips. We're going to go with Bobby Green. Don't care for. We're going to go with Jared Vanderaa. He's like our only outright underdog, I think. Casey O'Neill, Alex Perez, don't mind. Max Grishin, don't care for. Ronnie Lawrence, love. But Ronnie Lawrence's last fight against Trevin Jones, he pulled out like day of with a bad weight cut, day before, bad weight cut. So I want to see him on the scales. I want to see him on the scales before I like pull the trigger on a significant size bet. But I like Ronnie Lawrence. Renato Moicano, don't love. Carlos Ulberg, don't love. Jacob Malkoon, don't love. Sergey Morozov, don't mind. Jeremiah Wells, I want to love. I want to absolutely love. And because I'm a degenerate, my worst case scenario is I have to rebuild with 14 fights on the card because it's the first fight, man. So like I'll take a shot. I'm willing to take a shot. But yeah, because it's so many fights, you like Izzy, you like Brunson, Kyler Phillips, Casey O'Neill, Alex Perez, Ronnie Lawrence, and Wells, let's say you even just take half of the card, the 7 of the 15 fights. Yeah, trust me, those parlays are going to pay pretty good. I'm looking to hit top 2 tickets, which is 4 fights collectively. I think we got a good shot of hitting top 3 tickets this week, which would be 6 fights. And then let's extend it. But there's going to be some bum stuff the later you go. And we're just going to put the unpredictable fights that we're not quite sure lower on. But the weigh-ins is the last opportunity for us to download information, to see what's going on, and to get that last glimpse of what we might think. So I prefer to wait until weigh-ins, and then that's why I shoot you guys at the official picks on Saturday. So, hey, let's do it. I think we have fun in these. Oh, this is a good card. It's a good pay-per-view. It's better than the last pay-per-view, and I got owned on the last pay-per-view, so I'm looking to right the ship and keep the good times rolling.
100%. Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us as always. Because Pat's so confident in Blood Diamond. Kind of hoping for a Wells
He's
first
got you
round.
spooked now.
Kind of hoping for a Wells first round sub. Just.
Oh, okay.
I am looking at him, Pat. I mean, it's tempting, but
Can I mention one last thing since we're on the topic of Blood Diamond?
Stallone?
basically, the guy is
No, he's not.
jacked.
He hasn't been cryogenically frozen for 50 years.
You don't know
in
that.
Dystopian Los Angeles. He's not going to beat Blood Diamond.
If he
Pat
wants
is
to
so
go
confident in Blood Diamond, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna go watch Action Man now. Sorry. Yeah. You know what? It's MMA. Anything can happen. He's got a sweet gimmick. Pat's been known to take these crazy plus money tags, and I'll give him one thing: they come through. But if Blood Diamond was a chick, Pat would be money in the bank with his prediction right now.
It's true.
But it's a male fight, so I don't know that Pat's random plus money. I don't know, man. We'll see. I think Wells can make this look easy, but it's a good offering. What time does this thing start? Just because there's so many fights, 6, eh? Well, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, it'll be a late night. Particularly, I'm on the Atlantic coast here in Atlantic time. Americans don't even know anything about Atlantic. I mean, it's just an extra hour ahead.
Our pals
But
in Brazil and Bermuda know all about it.
yeah, our friends in.
But here, let me ask you this: you put Blood Diamond on the board. If he doesn't get announced to the ring as Blood Diamond, I'm not going to be feeling.
He introduces himself.
Well, like now in the ring, Blood Diamond. If I hear that, it's a lock. But if not, then I'm sort of.
How are you going to get money in at that point?
Well, I already put the money in.
Okay.
Right now, it just might not win if that's the case.
I mean, I think, it would be interesting. Like, this fight was obviously supposed to take place in, like, Australia, but, with COVID and stuff like that.
But did he change
Here
his
we are.
name? Like, is he like War Machine? Do we have any
I
confirmation?
don't think he's actually legally changed his name, but, like, he introduces himself as Blood Diamond. He gets called Blood Diamond by everybody. Like, he prefers to be even all those. Yeah, I'm sure you saw it. Like those kickboxing fights, he went by Blood Diamond.
Yeah,
He did
I
not go by. And that's why he made the board. I was just like, you know what? If this guy wants to be called Blood Diamond, who am I to say no?
Well, if you go to UFC stats, which I use for all my striking numbers, right?
Yep.
You got it in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Click on it.
On who?
Click on him.
On Blood Diamond? It says Blood Diamond.
Exactly, and that's the UFC stats. That's their own standard.
It's official, baby.
He's listed as Blood Diamond officially. I use them for all my official numbers. I use Tapology because there's the best site. But yeah,
This is
come
the
on, they're calling
official.
him Blood
That is
Diamond.
his official name.
That's too
As
funny.
far as we'll all be considered. Anyway, it was a fun show this week. That is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed this show. For Pat and Cody, I'm Paul. Saying goodbye and good luck.
Oh.